affirmation of appropriate meeting notices.
Yes.
Thank you. On the agenda, you have the revised agenda in front of you. 2 items were added. One was our, periodically, we decided that we would review the chief's position and an update on the intergovernmental agreement that we've been working with at the Edgerton district. So those 2 were added, if you have the revised one in front of you. Otherwise, on the agenda, a motion would be in order to approve or modify.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by John, seconded by, was that Larry? All Bill? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The minutes of June 15th.
Motion to approve minutes of June 15th. Second.
Motion by Linda, seconded by Beth. Any further discussion on those minutes? Or a motion? If not, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public participation. Anything unique you want to bring forward? If not, we'll go ahead. On old business, any updates on the local 580?
Just a little bit. I know it could probably sound like I'm kind of repeating myself when I say this, but we're close. Every time I think we have it, another question comes up that we have to wait on answers from. But currently, as far as I know, the last thing that we're waiting on is some information from the WRS about life insurance. It is basically a separate entity from WRS, even though it's through the state. So we do have a message to them. We're hoping to hear back from them next week. And I know that Local 580 is working on cleaning up the copy that they have for us, making other revisions and changes as far as, taking out in Janesville and Edgerton language and just having Milton language in there. So hopefully soon we'll have a copy for you guys to look at.
There's a discussion and possible action regarding proposed review of shared paramedic service MOU between Edgerton and Milton. Any updates on that at all?
As we talked about in our staff meeting a couple of days ago, as of right now, like I said, there was no information from the state as far as whether we could or couldn't do that. And I did obviously throw it out there that, if we're unable to do this, then we still have the whole mutual aid, automatic aid, and other things to help each other out in case we need to. So.
No new word on that. Brings us then to item 5C, discussion possible action regarding the IGA with the Edgerton district. So just this afternoon, we received, well, let me back up. Last week, the mayor, administrator, the chairs from Lima, Harmony, Johnstown, and myself, and the attorneys got together to review an IGA that the Edgerton Fire District Protection Board approved in its draft form to recommend to all the municipal bodies, 10 municipal bodies. When Edgerton board took that step, it then went to all of the attorneys' hands. It had been in the hands of the attorney at Edgerton, but then went to the city's attorney and the town's attorney for review. There were some semantic things that got brought up. Just caught up on some language or dotting some I's, crossing T's, I referred to it as. So from that meeting last week, we anticipated a couple of days ago we would have it back from the attorney's hands in its final draft form with the notes that we made in our meeting. And again, there wasn't anything structural or, you know, any awesome things that we wanted to change and how the agreement looked. It was really semantics for the most part. Anissa just printed out what our attorneys have sent us back, they believe is its final draft form that we're going to, and as I understand it, Anissa, we then agreed that once we got this final draft form, that this would go public.
This will be sent out with the notice for the meeting on Tuesday about 5 minutes.
Yeah, so Tuesday at 6:30 PM here at City Hall, the 5 municipalities on this side of that petitioning, this municipalities, full bodies of boards and council are asked to meet 6:30 here, Tuesday evening. Yeah, that's what I had in my notes anyway. So we'll be also sending this out to everybody so they can digest it by Tuesday night. We want to fully discuss the draft IGA that has had its blessings, at least anything that they saw that they wanted to raise questions about from the attorneys and Edgerton itself. But I want to make it real clear that what the Edgerton Board, Fire District Board has done is approved the draft version. Much like our commission, their board is recommending their municipal bodies approve it because their board can't make an intergovernmental agreement final decision. So they're recommending.
Well, I think they'll recommend it after our 5 municipalities.
Yes, yeah, but I just want to be really clear to everybody, and I don't want anybody to assume the Edgerton Fire Protection District Board can't make the final adoption of an intergovernmental agreement. They're passing it on to all the municipality bodies. But they had spent quite some time on it because not only was it focused on an expanded district, but they realized that they had to update their internal documents because they haven't really visited it since, two minor revisions since 1993, I believe, the documents they hold that they operate under. So they wanted to clean up their own documents that were some 30 years old. So this is a document that they felt they needed to work within themselves as well. So that's why they really spent a lot of time on it and held quite a few meetings over it themselves. Again, so is there any huge conflicts with Tuesday night for some people, or we want the full municipal bodies from the city of Milton, town of Milton, Lima, Harmony, Johnstown, here?
Eric Stockman may not be able to make it. He has his own presentation that he has to do for his job.
Okay,
He said that he was going to try to get here, but he just didn't know.
We'll have a forum.
Oh, yes.
I'll make one note. We didn't know best, the last year or so, we didn't know best how the language was going to be figured out, how to structurally melt this expanded district. So this isn't an all catch-all document. Alongside of it will be, and how did we title that? A transition plan and an operational chart as well. And I think our full intention is understood that we're going to work with fire staff, both our fire staff and very soon with Edgerton's fire staff on this operational chart. The transition plan, I'm not sure how intimate those conversations will be with Edgerton's fire staff, but certainly we anticipate our staff will be part of those discussions with the transition plan as well. So the transition plan operational chart accompanies this IGA as far as a working expanded district. The operational chart, more than likely, as it's developed, will be a very strong guideline, because we know that maybe one seat might change because we find that we can't staff that seat or that position once we physically put things in place, until we find more bodies to do that or something. But the reason I say that is I want to be very careful that people understand that the operational chart will be a written document that will be reviewed and generally understood by everybody. We hope everybody will understand it. But it won't be a contractual document that every piece of that operational chart, the intent of the chart is clearly there. Whatever it gets developed, whatever that chart is laid out in front of us and figured out, it will clearly be the intended model. But there may be a minor tweak because of the reality of the world as we move forward. Much like, well, I won't say much like, but our staffing models have changed a lot over the years because we experimented with a lot of models. I'm not saying that this is going to be as big of an experiment at all, but the reality is that there might be some visits to it. All right, I kind of, maybe I beat that to death, but. So that's what we know now. We'll send this out electronically. This is considered to be a public document, this IGA draft here.
Open for discussion?
Sure.
Perfect. So I just want to make it clear for everyone that's watching. There are two things that are taking place. So this draft that we have in our hands is we've been working on this for like almost a year now, about 10 months. And all of this draft it's not saying how the new fire department is going to look. It's the current terms and obligations of how their commission, their district board, and the way that they form work. So it has nothing to do with, how many fire stations we're going to have, who's going to be in them, the number of positions, the titles of those positions, none of that. This is only regarding the structure of what the district looks like. So I got a lot of questions in the past few weeks, in the past couple months about, well, you're looking to adopt something that you haven't really discussed outside of the commission. And in a way, yes, we have, but maybe not in the same context that you believe the document may be. The document that we're working on, again, is the structure of like how our commission is formed and the state statutes that we form under. That's what we've been examining, not necessarily, an IGA as to what everything will look like down to the bolts, the number of bolts in the structure, right? So I want to separate those two ideologies so we understand that the IGA is specifically the terms in which we form. And currently, our state statutes that we fall under for forming our commission are nearly identical with different terminology that Edgerton has. So as far as comparing district to our fire department, very, very similar. There are very few things that are different.
They're very similar, but under different statutes.
Well, they're actually a lot of the same statutes. Yeah.
Different statutes, it's a different statute that was why it took so long today to get this, because they have to be very specific on their statute. It's not the same statute as ours.
I'm just looking over the current draft of our commission and our IGA and state statutes that we're referring to.
They're gonna refer to some of the same statutes.
District shall be defined as 6.0013.
Legal governance model is different.
There, yeah, well, being a district versus a joint municipality with two municipalities versus many, there may be a subsection that's different, but what I'm stating is, looking at the two and how they look now, function very similar. So that's what we're really looking at, is just the entities and how they form. So, like Brian was mentioning, the transitional model is gonna be more of that operating picture. What is the department gonna look like once it forms under the terms of the district? So that transitional model, chief is gonna be involved and the staff will be involved in developing what that actually is gonna look like and give you some of those answers that maybe you've been looking for as to, well, what does the next step look like from here? So on the commission, this is an important step to get us the foundation, and then we can start building from there. So that's the two different distinct bodies that we're working on. I wanted to clarify.
And along those lines, the intergovernmental agreement here is substantially, it's the commitment. It's, you know, it's the document that makes the commitment.
Governance.
Yes.
It's all just about the governance of the district, pretty much.
Yeah, it includes a lot of things in it, but it boils down to, this is the level of commitment and responsibility each municipality will have to the commitment. Is there anything further on 5C here? If not, we'll move forward then to new business. Discussion possible action regarding paramedic school and training funding. I know the chief has passed out something here, chief.
Yeah, between myself and the other chiefs, we put together some guideline requirements as far as the applicant what they must do and what they're going to go through as far as the possibility of getting approved for funding for the paramedic school. Obviously, we're going to have requirements that they need to already have been accomplished and obligations that they're going to have to do once they do receive funding. Just a few topics. We're going to be looking for somebody that's probably been on the Milton Fire Department for approximately a year, a very active member, somebody that's been coming to trainings and have some prerequisites as far as EMT basic, CPR, and those are kind of the things that the paramedic school is going to be looking for already. So they'll be waiting for that, ready for that information. And some of the requirements or obligations that we're going to be expecting from that individual is a minimum of a 2-year commitment. And as far as that goes, if at any time that individual needs to leave the department for a job or for whatever reason, I put in here that we are going to take that total amount of money that it costs or what is given to that individual. We'll divide that by 24 for 24 months for a 2-year obligation, and we'll see if they decide that they need to leave early. We'll see how many months that individual has, and then we'll we'll go from there as far how much they may or may not have to pay. But yeah, that is for the commission to look over. If you feel that you need to make any changes, additions, or subtractions, please let us know.
Only question I have is, are you taking applicants at any point that you receive them and then having those committees discuss and interview? Or is it gonna be like quarterly? Did you kind of discuss how that's gonna look?
We'll probably take them be looking for those the first half of the year. Paramedic school usually starts in the fall. So we'll want to, cut that off probably halfway through the year, have a month to look at applications, and then to decide who may or may not get that funding. And obviously we'll want to bring that to the fire commission so you guys are well aware of it. I see that kind of as a roller coaster. I think we'll, there'll be times where we have multiple, there'll be times where we, may not have any, so we'll see how that goes. And as far as that goes, we'll probably be looking at, seniority and, how much participation we are getting from that member, so.
Does this open us up for educational grants? Because I know we can already be doing our public safety and emergency service grants,
Mhm.
state and federal, but does this open us to education also?
It's possible. I don't have a yes or no answer to that, but probably something that we could look into.
Do you have any prospect candidates that have asked about it?
We
that would like
we
to
have
apply?
had a couple of people ask about it, so I, obviously have informed them that we're working on this. And, if it does get approved, hopefully we'll be able to move forward with that this year, if we find the funding for it.
Chief, I have a question. Are
Mhm.
there other, I'm assuming there are other departments, assuming it can be dangerous. There's other departments that do similar things or not so much? This seems,
There are some out there that,
yeah.
if you put so much time in, they help you with schooling, and so on. And I know the Edgerton, Fire District does do that for their interns, depending on how far that intern wants to go with their schooling.
Thank you for all the work that you've put in on this document, and I think overall it looks absolutely fantastic. I think I just have a question about the last bullet point on the second page, and that simply boils down to the nuts and bolts of what this looks like. I don't remember how long the course is, and is it paid in full at the beginning, or is it split up into different payments?
I definitely think you can pay in full. I'd almost have to ask a paramedic student that question, because I myself have not been through that. So there may be people in the audience that can answer that question for me. All up front?
You get the option if you, when I paid individually, I was able to do payment plan type payments, but you can pay it all upfront as well.
So, if by chance you started and you just determined that life wasn't gonna allow for you to finish the course, would you have been able to like drop out without making another payment, or was there an assumed obligation?
So the way that it worked for me, we didn't have anybody in that situation when I went through, but the increments were over 3 months. So over 3 months, you had to have the full payment due. And if you were to drop out by a certain point in time, wherever you were in the course, that's, so say you were halfway through the course, you get 50% of your money back.
Okay, and so, again, I take no issue with the last bullet point, I'm just wondering if it's as accurate, or if we just need to look at different wording. For instance, if we are paying in installments, if we don't have the money that we've outlaid and they've determined that they're unable to continue, which would be super unfortunate.
Right.
But I'm just wondering if that's going to be necessary.
I don't necessarily think we should take it out, just in case things do change as far as that goes. I think we should leave that in there.
Perhaps the wording could be changed to something like, instead of the total amount paid, total amount of the obligation due, or something like that.
Yeah, and maybe I'm actually at face value misunderstanding the intent. Maybe it is thus far, like all that we've put in so far,
Right.
not like the total amount of the course.
Correct.
So I
We
think
can
I
put something like that.
misunderstood it to begin with, Jeremy, and,
Okay.
and it's not that it's just my brain,
Oh,
so.
no problem. No problem.
I'm happy with it. I will make the motion to approve the draft copy that was presented to us tonight for the paramedic school reimbursement requirements, and have this to be paid out through our reserve account for this current fiscal year. And then the following year, we will budget accordingly.
That was a motion to approve the paramedic school funding assistance program that was presented by the chief.
Yes,
You don't wanna look at the budget before you include that in the motion?
I did look at the budget, but you're welcome to discuss it or second
We've already
it or
approved
true.
the budgeted dollars.
It's just what account it's coming
We
from.
voted on
Right,
those
right.
dollars.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Motion by John, second by Linda, then, Jenny, you got that motion? All in favor, then say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, chief.
You're welcome.
Chief's report.
For June was a pretty busy month. We had a total of 110 responses, which is a pretty busy month for us. Once we break 100, it gets to be pretty hectic. As far as for company trainings, we had company operations, search and rescue, rural water movement, and advanced skills for EMS. As far as miscellaneous things, I wanted to bring this to the commission's attention, and then hopefully maybe we'll get it on next month's agenda. As you all know, that we've had a outside company do our fire inspections for us. There has been some concerns in the community about that, and the more I thought about it, I think maybe it would be better for our department to maybe go back to doing that, mainly for the knowledge of the business itself, what maybe the layout looks like inside, the hazards it may present, and there has been some new interest in it. So I just want to bring that to your attention, that we may want to push that forward here next month. So.
And Jeremy, I do actually have someone that came to me, said that they would be interested in doing fire inspections for the fire department. So if we
Okay.
want to get offline on that and see if that's someone that might meet the criteria,
Okay,
when we can bring that before the next meeting to be discussed.
okay, I appreciate that.
So I think the reason we don't currently do them today is, it was a staffing issue.
Correct.
Because we had historically done our own internally. You think we probably could figure that out then, staffing wise?
I do. Yeah, between the, since we have raised our staffing level for the full-time members, I believe that we could probably pass those out through the companies, as far as how many each company may be responsible for. And then the larger ones, we have certain individuals that would be able to accomplish those. So.
Jeremy, I do appreciate your comment about having the knowledge of inside those buildings and what's where, and that just makes sense to me.
Absolutely,
powerfully, you know.
absolutely.
That could be life-saving, right?
Yeah,
Depending on
yep.
what you're doing.
Yeah, if you go somewhere in the middle of the night and,
Yeah.
you know, if you have some familiarization with the building already, that's a huge help.
It's also helpful for an ambassadorship, if you will, for faces in the community to be out there to speak with business owners. I'll never forget, I was home on vacation one time at my parents' old house, and they had a house fire, and literally, because you all were in your turnout gear, I had no idea who was walking through my house, but you're all saying, "Hi Beth, hi Beth." It's like, oh my gosh, hi, I don't know who you are. But anyway, so can we have this on an agenda next month?
Yeah, sure, and I also want to note that I have also had input from the community. And I don't know any of the specific details of their concerns, but I made an assumption to myself that it was probably a challenge in communication with an outside source. The communication was a large part of the issue, again, but I don't know necessarily the details of what their concerns were. I'm not sure that they knew either. So yes.
Well, I think it's been a question, like I said, several months ago, I was asked by the inspector how much longer it was going to go on like this. So if we can even, for the next month, get some, well, just in-your-face cost savings, that would be really, or cost analysis, that would be helpful.
What are the requirements to do fire inspection? Is there a training course you have to take in order to receive a credential?
There is a semester class, to get started with, is Fire Inspector 1. In Fire 1, you do get some training and knowledge of fire inspections itself. So you can have, you know, if you only have maybe 1 or 2 certified fire inspectors, you can still send out the companies to go and do, you know, the smaller inspections, you know, under their guidance.
I'm just curious, maybe next month is a better time for this, but can you prepare an answer to several years ago when we were doing inspections, a new law came out allowing us to adopt, either by ordinance or whatever, allowing us to do one inspection a year rather than the two that were required.
Except for schools.
So I'd like to further understand that next month. Anything else, Chief?
Not at this time.
President's report at all?
Jess is not here, but I can report on a few things. The association has purchased, new furniture. We ordered it months and months ago, and it took forever to get here. We ordered two, love seats and a recliner to try to fit when we have 5 people on shift, so everyone has a seat in the TV room. It fits in there pretty good. Should be heavy-duty recliners, furniture, so hopefully that lasts. The other thing the association purchased was 2 Rams. I'll let Jeremy explain to you what the Rams are, but we had, a few generous donations from the community, one being, I believe it's Godfrey Becker for the VFW, is that what the group is? They gave us money, we had some other memorials from people that passed away and stuff, so I believe that total cost was like $14,000.
Yeah, between that
It
and
was-
20,000.
So yeah, we purchased 2 of them, so I'll let Jeremy explain what a Ram is, cause I'm not sure.
Basically, it's just a tool that we use for vehicle extrication. If we need to spread apart a vehicle or, make a hole bigger than it already is, we could put that in there, and a hydraulic ram, pushes things apart, so.
This is a glorified porta power.
Basically, yes. Basically, yeah. Yes, yeah.
Jenny, I have a question. Do we normally, or have we thought of, we probably do this, sending a letter to the people who donate, telling them what we use the money for?
Yes, we do, we send a thank you out, and we're gonna have something on our social media page about the Rams and other things that have been purchased. I know we also just received a donation, from the Masons, from the Masonic Temple. They purchased us, an aid.
It's basically, in a fancy term, it's almost like a fire extinguisher per se, to make it basically be able to make me describe this a little bit easier. But anyways, it's almost like a little suitcase that somebody could throw into, say, like a window or a door or maybe a basement window. If they can't get in there right away to put the fire out, they can toss it in there. Gets up to a certain temperature, basically goes off, and then almost puts for the most part, puts the fire out. So in a small room area. So that's what they're used for. Correct. Yep. Right.
Right, so we're gonna get all this stuff on social media, the recent stuff that we've just received.
Anything else on the president's report? Then brings us item 9, motion would be in order to go to closed session.
Consideration of a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 19-19.85 paren 1 paren C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise responsibilities. The fire chief's evaluation.
Second.
Do we want to start out without the chief and then call him in?
Whatever your wishes
Or-
are.
I mean, what? Sounds good to me.
So, sit in waiting. All right, and so, do you want Jenny then in closed session for any particular reason?
Oh, if she
So-
has it, then no.
I just want to clarify for the record who's in closed session. Alternates,
Yes.
Jim, any other? Larry? All right, then we are, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We are in closed session. So you want to go into the room over here? There's a scratch paper with me.
Is that what the name Brandon was on the? Yeah, Brandon is that it? Is it with a Y? I don't know, they always spell it with that. Social inspection, there's only